I've been dishing out some criticisms on the whole of the game lately. Grand, big picture stuff. Today, we're getting really petty. We're not talking about bounty grinding. We're not talking about getting in-game loadouts. We're not talking about anything big. These are my top 7 most petty, tiny, little, annoying things about Destiny 2 right now that I would love to see fixed. Number 7 is 150 Speed Sparrows. On screen is a race of a 150 versus a 160 Sparrow, and as you'll see, the 160 is faster. Shocker, I know. When you pull a Sparrow from collections, if it says 150 speed, it can roll either as a 150 or 160 speed. So people are just going to pull for that 160 Sparrow until they get it with the perk that they want. To me, this says that there is no reason that the 150 variant needs to exist at all in the game. Let's just cut the crap and make everything into a 160 by default. Number 6 is the Valor / Infamy rank up banner. Who knew that a banner right across the middle of your screen that only pops up for a few seconds every few weeks would be so annoying? Hey, look, I said we were getting petty here. Can we move this banner like anywhere else? Top, bottom of the screen, make it smaller so it's not in the way of what I'm doing? Anything? I think the clan level up display works great. Nice little display at the bottom of the screen. It's big enough to notice, but it's not dead center of your screen. Maybe something like that. Number 5 is stat tracking on masterworked weapons. What do I need to remember to toggle between PvE and PvP trackers when I'm using guns just to track stats? Why isn't this done in the background? Why aren't both just done in the background? Why do we need to have emblems with every individual stat in the game? Can't we just get a stats page somewhere, even if it's on our Bungie.net profile? I would just like a nice, organized list of all of my stats without having to hover over a bunch of emblems or waiting for them to come out. Also, I know I've heard the desire for stat display on certain emblems to be able to be turned off, so a toggle would be nice. Number 4 is the inability to shade certain parts of exotic armor and legendary weapons. I use the Supremacy a ton. Most of the gun does not accept shader effects. Certain exotic armor pieces have parts that cannot be shaded with shaders. My question is why? Why can these parts not be shaded? Is there any specific reason? You know, with something like Worm God Caress with the green orbs on the shoulders, I understand if it has something to do with the particle effects or the textures or something like that, but there's plenty of other things that don't really seem to have that problem at all. Please let me shade my Supremacy. Number 3 is picking up planetary materials from their nodes. The Spider has made manual material farming completely irrelevant in Destiny. I'll visit the Spider every so often and buy a bunch of materials from him so that I can buy upgrade modules whenever I need them. And I'm okay with that. But as a result, this has made picking up planetary materials while on a destination completely pointless, as you only get 1 or 2 materials per pickup. Now, I'm not saying we should be giving out 50 materials per pickup or anything, but I think that if you're going out to manually farm materials for whatever reason, it shouldn't be as painful as it is. 1 legendary shard is not worth the amount of time it takes to go and find 4 planetary materials, even with a ghost that supports it. Each node should give at least 1 legendary shard's worth of materials. That's 5 mats per node, maybe 10 on a more rare occasion. Let's at least make this simple action somewhat worthwhile. Number 2 is Auto-Dismantling Blues. Now, I know hunters can get some potentially ridiculously rolled items right now, but if that ever gets fixed, most, if not all, blues are immediate dismantles for those not leveling up. I would love to see an in-game option to toggle auto-dismantle blue items, considering how often that they are rewarded and immediately dismantled by literally everyone who plays this game. The only time I care about blues is when a new expansion comes out and I'm trying to level up. Just a big old button that says Auto-Dismantle Blues to make inventory management not such a nightmare. That would be amazing, although this is probably one of the most difficult things to implement in the game compared to other things that I've mentioned on this list. I say option because blues are still important for people who want to micromanage their leveling. Before we hit number 1, I would like to drop in some honorable mentions. The first one goes to shaders and the insanity that is the inventory system. I would love to see the favorites system implemented with shaders instead of having just a giant pile of them in my inventory that I literally never look at. Next are materials that should have implementation like glimmer, shards, and bright dust. And silver, I guess. Anything that is shared across characters should have this implementation. However, I understand that there's a massive difference between having the main 3 or 4 currencies in the game not be a part of inventories compared to the dozen or 2 currencies that would be displayed somewhere on the UI neatly that doesn't require an additional page view. Imagine if you had all planet mats, mod components, upgrade modules, various cores, shards, raid banners, all that stuff somehow having to be crammed into the UI. I imagine might be a little messy. Finally, some currencies that can't be dropped into the vault. Please let us drop them into the vault. At this point, I don't think it really matters if I can trade Charges of Light, Phantasmal Fragments, Modulus Reports, old faction tokens from Season 3, or any of this stuff into my vault. I really don't think it matters. Alright, let's go to number 1. Number 1 on the list of my most petty, tiny, annoying little things that I don't like about Destiny is weapon telemetries. These things are so beyond worthless that I don't even know where to begin. First off, the only way to really get them in the first place is via a ghost perk or by using pure matter glass lens, which nobody uses except to clear them out of their inventory. Their drop rate is very, very low, even with these things equipped, to the point where I actually think it's just not working properly. I got a grand total of, count 'em, 1, running a Dreaming City Lost Sector with both a consumable and a ghost perk. To make sure it wasn't a fluke, I went to orbit, ran it again, and got 1. And then I ran another Lost Sector on a different planet and got 1. Then, it takes more of the telemetries than gunsmith materials to get a package at the gunsmith. What is the point of weapon telemetries? Why do these exist? Why have them in the game at all when they are so worthless? I'd say buff their reputation gains at the gunsmith, but I think the last thing we need is yet another inventory material item. Ditch them, ditch the perks on the ghosts, and just leave it behind. And if you're not going to get rid of it, then at least combine the effects of pure matter glass and Rainmaker together so that I can save an inventory slot. If you have extremely small, petty things that you dislike and would like to see addressed, drop them in the comments. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.